here.
Yeah. Carlos Mencia, who has gotten a reputation for stealing jokes, has a podcast, but he called me and asked me, could he name his podcast? We did a show together. He called me and asked me, could he name his podcast? No Hate, No Fear. I said, man, knock yourself out. Carlos, I've known Carlos a long time.
Well, can I ask you guys on all?
Wait, hold on. Did you lead that off with saying Carlos Mencia is one of the biggest joke stealers in the world?
No, I said they did a documentary. They did a documentary, and they said that he.
Homeboy being messy, huh? That thumbs up button. This is DC Curry, comedian DC Curry, talking about comedian Carlos Mencia. Let's go ahead and continue on. Hit that thumbs up button, guys.
He's a big joke.
It's not that they said. It's.
He kind of does.
He kind of might be.
This is from DC Curry's YouTube podcast, DC Curry TV. Subscribe to his channel, guys. Go ahead and check out DC Curry's Disrace. That's the name of the podcast, but his channel is DC Curry TV. Hit that thumbs up button, guys. Let's continue on.
I mean, it's documented. He's repeated some stuff that, and he had a big fallout with Rogan. What's the boy? Joe Rogan. Right. Joe ran up on stage on him or some shit. I toured with. If y'all want some trivia, kind of personal, but
go ahead. They call you DC Curry Holcomb anyway.
So back in the day, this promoter comes up with this idea for this Rainbow Coalition tour. So he got me, Carlos Mencia, Dave Attell, and Bobby Lee. Bobby Lee, Oriental.
Dave
Attell, white boy, Jew. Carlos Mencia was supposed to be Mexican, but he's actually Honduran.
Oh, okay.
He speaks Spanish.
Oh, really?
But his following is mainly Mexican. They think he's Mexican, but he ain't even Mexican. He's Honduran. And he is black as me.
Right.
And I had a deal to do, I don't know, about 15 shows. And after 4 shows, they gave me $100,000 to get off the tour.
Wow. You burned them up.
I don't know why. But
you were headlining clearly, right?
No.
Well, can I ask
Carlos' tour?
So can I ask you guys, the comedians that definitely know Marcus, that don't kind of like rub y'all the wrong way to see somebody like stealing his jokes?
He probably, DC Curry probably was funnier than them. Or maybe they figured maybe he didn't fit in with that lineup probably. But hell, that's a nice little sufferance pay, $100,000.
I'll walk all the time. Somebody.
Yeah. But if I see somebody do the cha-cha slide joke, I'm brushing the stage. If I see somebody do the cha-cha slide joke from Marcus Combs, I'm gonna rush the stage.
There's certain jokes you can't
say. I just want to know.
What if a person says, Marcus Combs used to say, blah, blah.
Still wrong.
You know what?
That's like when you write something and you give a person credit. That's what the lady that was president of Harvard did not do.
Very, very good.
The lady that was president for Harvard.
Right. No, just lost the black lady. Yeah. But it's one of those things because people do that with Tyler Craig all the time. They'll say, what was Tyler's catchphrase?
It's more to the story.
For the moral of the story. So you'll see people say it for the moral of the story, like in the great words of Tyler Craig or something like that. Or you just see... Who
was Tyler Craig?
You hear people do stuff all the time.
Yeah.
But if you state what you... I don't know how I feel.
Hit the thumbs up button, guys.
About it. Honestly,
if you say...
Impressive, them guys who do the
impersonators, yeah.
They do that all the time. Marcus is very good at impersonation. But if a guy get up there and just do his whole set on everybody he's seen do comedy, he's not really a comedian. He's just imitating comedians.
So where do we stand on the idea that everything great has been taken from somewhere? Like we were all inspired by a situation, and based on that inspiration, you tend to mimic certain attributes of a person.
Well, I'll say this, and it's weird to grow up and see certain guys that I'm sitting next to on Common View, but I had never in my life heard the restaurant joke until DC did it. The one like when you're sitting there eating it and about to fly up there, like how he was just ripping it, man, like never slowed up, just everything that you can relate to about the fan and how they serve you. So I never heard that. So when you get a chance, somebody that comes as original as DC, and I I don't see too many people trying to follow that. Trying to can rip it like how he was ripping it back then.
Well, like,
I just think that when it comes to comedy and
Curry funny, man. He don't get his props.
Songs and stuff like that, you can be inspired by a person, but don't take the person's joke or take the person's song. You can be inspired. You can be motivated. Because just like what you just said, Brian, with using DC's restaurant joke, that style you may see, hey, that's my style.
People be asking me sometimes now to do that joke. I'll be like, 20-some years ago, I don't
people
even remember.
People love that.
I would have to sit down for a day
and go over it again.
Right. Yeah, I keep it. I keep it.
I bet some of us can tell a joke for you because that's how much we watch you. You know, your fans can tell a joke for you.
Right.
I seen that with Fluffy. He did his show. And his very first show, is that his name, the Mexican?
The Mexican dude, yeah.
Fluffy. And his first joke, he ended his song. His set. He ended his set with his very first joke, and the audience was telling the joke for him. I thought that was
give it a great
yeah.
I
thought that was so dope.
Which is all good. Yeah, which is all good. You go to hear a singer. You don't expect to hear all new songs.
Right.
Yeah.
You got your favorites you want to hear,
Well, the first time I heard Bo, I was just shocked because I'm like, this dude does not care about the cancel culture. I was like, when Bo invited me out, and I'm like, we're over there off of Memorial, I'm watching Bo, and I mean, he just ripping.
That is true though. Like when you go see an artist, you want to hear their old shit. You don't hear their new shit. That's why a lot of times they got to sneak in their new stuff. Like in between their old shit, they can't, because if they play all their old songs and then start playing their new stuff, people be walking out because they used to just want you really just came there just to hear the songs you already know. So a lot of times when they got to do like their new songs, they have to squeeze it in between some of the old. If they got a lot of hits, they have to squeeze their new stuff in between because they know people want to hear the other hits that they got. So hit the thumbs up and guys, let's continue on.
Everything he said, you was like, you can't say that, man.
It shocked me now. He was ripping. I said, this dude does not care about the cancel culture at all, man. And
it didn't matter when I was growing up. Why should it matter now?
I got it. And that's why I got to give it to him. Like, most people watch what they say, which is weird when you hear like Damon Wayans say, I can't do stand-up anymore because of the cancel culture or these big guys like Eddie Murphy. But Bo was like, man, I'm going to let this thing rip.
No, you know what the problem with a super successful guy doing stand-up, a black super successful guy doing black humor is usually about hard times and black people. Mm-hmm. It's hard to be convincing if you got $100 million or if the public perceives you as having $100 million. Mm-hmm. So Eddie Murphy can't come back now talking about how hard times are.
Right.
Because it's got to be a part of you.
He wouldn't better come back and do a gas joke is what y'all saying.
No.
Like,
Eddie said one time. He said one time he didn't change. He said the people around him changed. Yeah. He's the same person, but the people around him changed because everybody wanted something. Everybody tried to tell him what he need to do next, and it got to be where they thought they were stars because he was a star.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he's still funny. Even when he was on Jimmy Kimmel, he did the best Tracy Morgan impression I ever heard in my life.
Well, now DC, I know you get this just because you're part of that whole little crew and era, but
what little crew? I'm not part of a little anything.
Well.
I know that's right.
This is about the littlest thing in which I participate.
Thank you, by the way. We all thank you.
Yeah, we thank you. DC,
what are you referring to?
We thank you.
You're part of a group of legacy comedians that were part of the '90s and Bernie and DL. So you're part of this group that just killed it and kind of brought black comedy to. You let people know, and Comic View and all that helped that and all that. But so, I've seen your show, and you don't give a fuck.
No, you don't.
But do you think that
very, very untrue?
Yeah, you socially.
Well, no, he's a wordsmith, and he knows how to walk the line. But do you feel that Bernie would have had the same success? Do you feel like Bernie would have been able to not? Are some comedians uncancelable?
Dave Chappelle says everything he want to say. Talk about anybody he want to talk about. Right. So it's who they accept and who they don't accept.
You're right.
It's pretty much subjective.
And I think that Bernie would have. I think to your question,
you're right. If they don't like you, they don't like you, and then they'll use anything you say. Oh, he said that. Cause he's right. They let Dave Chappelle say pretty much what he wanted now because they like him.
I know DC is better to answer it, but I mean,
you go ahead.
I love Bernie Mac, and actually I just saw the special tribute they did for him, and I think that he would have survived the test of time.
But I feel like,
but you don't understand,
I also feel like black people don't hold that cancel culture to the same respect. You can't go around calling us nappyhead and the niggas and shit like that. But you know.
Bob Saget was one of America's favorite guys, right? Had the talk show.
That was a triple X rated comedy.
Yeah, I heard that dude.
Now I'm gonna say this: they will give a white guy. I'm saying this, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, here you go.
They give a white guy. They'll figure a white guy that's like that talking on stage. He can make the adjustment. They will not usually give a black guy the benefit of that doubt.
Because George Carlin, God rest his soul, but he was a huge agnostic. You know.
Yeah, he was atheist.
I mean, it was just he would say some stuff, and then supposedly, you know, God bless America country. But he would say so much stuff that was like anti-God, but he would get away with it. Nobody came out against him.
I feel like when George and I see what you're saying. He's an atheist, so I mean I don't know about anti-God, but he was an atheist, so you know
you don't believe in him.
Okay,
go ahead.
But I feel like George Carlin, when he was speaking, he got to a point where he wasn't telling jokes anymore, and he was challenging thought. And when you can do that now, DC, there's some levels of comedy that introduce that. DC can introduce that. Dave Chappelle gets that privilege. George Carlin got that privilege. When you can introduce thought and then make people laugh behind
George Carlin was a
that's another.
Oh yeah. I wasn't saying he was a bad comedian. I just like I was just agreeing with DC like how white comics can really
they get away with it. There's some bad. I ain't crying the blues.
Bob Saget would go on stage and talk about having sex with young girls and all.
Yeah, people don't realize that. What was his name on Full House? What was his name? Tanner. His last name was Tanner. I forgot, but he was so clean cut. He was on America's Funniest Videos in the '90s. After he was doing both of them. He was doing America's Funniest Videos, and he was doing Full House. Both of those shows was on at the same time in the '90s, and so he was like this clean cut guy. But a lot of people don't know that Bob Saget was real raunchy.
Gave him a game show. I mean, they gave him a family show. They gave him Full House, and they gave him the game show with the kids, American Funniest on Video, which is basically a family-oriented show.
Now, during that
the dude was so nasty on stage. I'd be like, he was white T.K. Kirkland, man.
Yeah.
He was worse than TK.
Now, do you know that during that time when he was recording all that stuff during the '90s, was he still on the circuit?
I gotta look up some of his old stuff. Then I didn't know he was that raunchy. Thumbs up button, guys.
Like touring and still
you could go see him anytime you want to at the Laugh Factory in L.A. He was there all the time.
Oh, yeah.
When we come back, man, we have a producer in our midst.
This is DC Curry's YouTube channel. I just want to weigh in on the whole plagiarism. That's got to be hard to be a comedian, man. You got to come up with jokes all the time. And then when you're coming up with jokes, you got to make sure that your joke is not somehow similar to some other comedian's jokes. Probably a comedian that you have never seen, never met, and then you end up touching on something that sounds like similar to some joke. And the cool part about it is you don't know every comedian. It's hundreds of comedians out there aspiring, trying to make it comedians that are just traveling around over for people. So you mess around and tell a joke. Oh, I'm going to tell a joke about bow and arrows. And then some comedian over in Nebraska who moved to New York does a joke about bow and arrows. And all of a sudden, he did it before you, but you didn't know that. And then now hey, man, you stole my joke. I don't know. That's a hard hustle, man, to be a comedian. To be a professional comedian, that's a hard grind, boy. You have to really have a love for that shit. Be able to go on stage and make strangers laugh. Like, people don't even know you. You know, that's why I admire people that do that kind of profession and stick with it. You don't make no money for years and shit, hoping that maybe you one day blow up. You may end up blowing up or some shit like that. Like, that's a real hard hustle. I don't know if I could. Yeah, that's a grind. That's what I'm saying. Something like that, you gotta really have a passion for. To be a comedian. Get up on that stage every night. And the cool part about it is you gotta do that shit every night. to get better at it, to be a stand-up comedian. You know, that's why people keep talking about Eddie Murphy coming back doing comedy. I don't think he should. I think he should just leave it at that. Cause he ain't did comedy since the '80s, dude. Like stand-up comedy, that fool ain't did that shit since I was in elementary school. That's how long Eddie has been a movie star. He left stand-up when I was in. Matter of fact, his last comedy special, I think I was in the 3rd grade when that shit came out. That's how long ago it's been. So, anyway, what do y'all think, man? Leave your comments, hit that thumbs up button, and subscribe to Charles in His World. Appreciate it.